Please welcome Ashley Fisher, Director of Falcon Complete, CrowdStrike.
I've got a confession to make really quick, right? This is my first WiCyS. Here with all of you guys. Yeah. And if you thought that this talk was going to be about anything from last year, this is not that talk on resilience, okay? So let's just all move on from that. Who am I? So I can give you my resume, and there's been a lot of times where I think that that is important. But for this group and all of you here, I decided to identify word cloud words for me. So the things that you'll see on here are words that identify me as a person, some of the core values that I hold, some of the testimony and journey that I've had individually in my personal and my professional life. And some of these are really important to me and make up me as a person, right? So I am a mother. I had a baby right before COVID, for anybody that falls into that. Navigated motherhood much later in my life, probably compared to people that are my age. I come from a military family background. I myself have never been in the military. I was too spicy for that, so what God took away from there, He gave it to me here, and I apply in other places, right? I am neurospicy. You'll see, obviously, one of the pillars that I'm talking about is being neurodivergent. That is context to who I am as a person. It is not an excuse, and it is not what defines me, but it's important, right? Yeah, thank you. Another one on here. Do we have any astrology people? So I'm a Capricorn through and through. I'm a Virgo moon. So for those of you that know what that means, I care about the details. I care about the process. I want to strive for perfection, right? I want to do all of those things. And everything that I'm going to talk about here is contradictory to that. So my disc profile very much aligns in the same aspect. I started out, for anybody that knows, are you guys familiar with disc profile? If you're not, highly encourage you to do that. So there's a plug for anybody that's your jam. I started out as a dominant on the disc profile. May also come as a surprise, not for those that know me personally, professionally, but I am now an IS, right? So I want to bring groups together. I want to connect people together, and that is my superpower, one of them. I am very empathetic. That is definitely something that I'm invested in. I don't think it necessarily has anything to do with my gender, but I care about people. I care about my customers. I care about my teams, and I truly think that that has made me be the person that I am. And I think that if you keep that as an essential thing, you can never go wrong, right? The last one on here is very important to me, and I definitely believe I am somebody that is resilient, right? So let's kind of unpack that. Resilience isn't about powering through exhaustion. It's about adapting, growing, creating environments where we can all thrive, right? So let's talk through what is the traditional view on that of resilience. How is it viewed, right? How quickly we bounce back. How could we never fail, right? Resilience testing in a technical standpoint from our jobs professionally. I made a cheeky comment about that. That's a traditional view about things that we're dealing with. But I want to offer you guys up another perspective, which is my reality, right? It's messy. Resilience is messy, and it's different for every single person, right? So it's not about just being reactive. It's about trying to find out what works for you, who you are as a person, where you are in your life, right? And so all I'm offering today is perspective. It's my journey. It's what I've done and where I've been. And if this resonates with anybody in this room, please talk to us. Obviously, we've got a booth, and I've talked to some of you already that didn't know that I was speaking. And I shared that, and I was very overwhelmed, right? Like, I am testing this resilience that I'm living and breathing right now on stage with you guys. I work for an awesome company with a great mission and a huge team, and that feels really easy, and this felt really hard to do all of this with you guys. But I wanted to lean into that, right? Somebody needs to hear a perspective, and I just want to offer that. So I gave 3 pillars, areas that I feel that I can give a perspective on, right? Motherhood. Whew. Resilience, right? So what has motherhood taught me? All the things, right? This could be a whole different TED Talk, and I'm sure there's much more brilliant people that you hear, and if you know any of them, I'm constantly seeking any sort of wisdom for anyone that has children, because it's a lot, right? My son is my entire world, but what has it done, right? I want to translate what that has done for me. Having children has made me realize that it is super cool to have a plan. That plan doesn't always turn out the way you want it to. And you have to adapt to that, right? Like, you have to be okay that plan can change. There's nothing wrong with having a plan. For anybody that knows me has definitely heard me say that, so I'll preach it here, say whatever you want. You get to adapt to the unexpected. Your toddler is having a fallout in Target, right? Like, you gotta leave the birthday party. You don't wanna put your shoes on. I'm learning patience through challenges, for sure, right? I'm learning balance. You definitely have to figure out, where do you celebrate the small wins? You ate your dinner, you put pants on today, yes, we've made it, it's great. And just kind of taking that in, right? And I think that you can find that, whether that is your role or you are somebody here that is a part of that. The next one, right? I say neurospicy, that's just my personal, but I am ADHD, and thank you. Whew, yeah, but being a millennial, right, I didn't know any of that. I'm learning so much through people that I have met, through my community, and really trying to lean into that. But what I can tell you is that my brain and other people's brains work differently. It's my superpower. Be okay with that, right? Use that perspective to find creative problem solving. That is your superpower, right? Navigating the overwhelm. Trying to do that right now with you guys, if I'm being really transparent. It's a lot. This is a lot. What's going on in our world is a lot, right? Work, trying to find your place, trying to find a mission that you want to be attached to. That's okay, right? Embracing your vulnerability. Talking with you guys and saying those words out loud is me acknowledging that. And for whatever reasons, right? I grew up in a time or a place where I didn't think that I could do that. And I think that as I got older, I learned that I can do that, right? It didn't identify who I was. Like I said, for me, I choose, and my preference is that my neurospicy is a superpower. And that's what I choose to embrace, right? And the last one, all the lessons, right, that we're now learning in cyber: incident response, responding to the many things that happen in the day-to-day, our continuous learning. Why do we have to do that, right? The world, the landscape, our adversaries, the threats aren't changing, and so we need to be able to continuously feed that. Building strong systems. We build systems for resilience, right? We build firewalls to protect from threats. Why are we not doing that with ourselves? It's not any different. This is the most important system, right? And then the theme here, obviously, communication is key in all of the things, right? I need to be able to communicate with my team, with my partner, with my child, to myself, right? I need to be able to regulate myself. So that communication piece is super critical. So what are some actionable steps that you can take? Adaptability is key. I think I've already talked to the booth with a couple of you. And if you hear this, I hope you hear me again. It is okay for the plan to change. You should actually assume or just know that it can, and it probably will. Life happens. Whatever season that you're in, whatever job that you have, whatever business is happening, you have to be able to adapt to those things, right? Shift your perspective. I am definitely one of those people that believes that your words mean something, right? What you put into the world matters. And if you are around negative things and you are saying negative things, then you are going to believe and live those things, right? Shift your perspective. It's not a roadblock. It wasn't, I didn't get the job that I wanted. Yeah, maybe you weren't supposed to get that job. Maybe you weren't supposed to take that role. What opportunity can that challenge be for you, right? And another one that I'm sure anyone from my team is laughing at, because if they had $1 for every time they've heard me say this, they'd be rich and wouldn't work at CrowdStrike. So, but focus on what you can control. And I know that sounds really simple, but it is. There are so many things out of our control. Find something that you can control, right? And focus on that. Leverage your neurodivergence as a strength. So we kind of talked about that earlier. It's your superpower. Find the things you like to do, right? You love to do, you're driving change, and figure out how you can do more of that. Be tied to that project, meet that person. And the things that drain the life out of you, hopefully you can automate or delegate, right? And you can find a way to get away from those things. If not, cut your teeth, turn it in, shift your perspective, right? Learn a lesson, find something else, right? Move on to the next thing. All of those things are going to help you grow, as painful as that can be sometimes. Advocating in the workspace, 100%, right? Find your village, find your people that you trust, and use them, lean into them, right? Like, this is not a battle, who's the strongest, and for us as women, sometimes we feel like we have to do that, right? Find your people, whoever they are, that is going to hold you accountable, who is going to tell you the truth, who is going to sometimes give you the hard things that you don't want to hear, right? That is important. And then build your resiliency toolbox. Celebrate the small wins. Was it a project? Was it a certification that you wanted to do? Was it you wanted to go to B-sides and speak on a stage? If that's what you want to do that, right? Develop support systems. And like I said, that could be in your workplace, that could be your personal, whatever your preference is, but you need to find people around you that are going to help you grow and that you can reflect on, and you can understand how you're impacting the world, right? Work on your self-awareness. This is a big one. For me particularly, I can be really direct. I can be very sarcastic. And I have to make sure that I know the right room and the right scenario to do those things, and I've learned that through trial and error, right? Very young in my career. But I had people around me of all walks and all levels that believed in what I wanted to do, saw more than I saw in myself, and wanted that for me and gave me that feedback. And I try to do that and pay it forward, right? That stuff is important. And then the last one, which I'm really not good at, so I underline this one for sure, prioritize self-care. You cannot pour from an empty cup. So while that is really cliche to say, it's the absolute truth, right? You need to take time for yourself. You need to figure out where your balance is. You need to be able to take time off, right? Like, you need to be able to do that so that you can reset. There's no endless list of work it's always going to be there, right? Do everything you can in that day, come in, have a good attitude, good effort, pick it up, put it down, come back tomorrow. That's literally all you can do, right? So to kind of bring this back, just talking about redefining resilience for us, when I was asked to come and speak here, like I said, if I'm being totally honest, dreadful anxiety, tried to get my boss to I'm busy, right? Like, shouldn't do this. I have a really supportive team and village and people that I trust in my community and my family that were giving me the rah-rah speech that I pour into everybody else. And I was like, oh man, I gotta do this, right? Okay, cool. But I created the poll, slides are gone. I created the poll on there, and one of the things that I asked in there, for everybody that answered, I appreciate you, and was asking, like, what does resilience mean to you? Nobody in there said perfection. Let's just be honest. Nobody said they wanted to be perfect, because perfect is not the goal, right? We talked about a lot of imposter syndrome, right? I just want to be able to bounce back, and I just want to make it through, and that's a common theme, right? Everybody in this room is figuring that out. I'm figuring that out, right? I am not the Bible. I am not the template. I just have something to say. I hope it resonates with one person. I hope that you hear that and you figure those things out, and I would love to talk more about what that means for you, but that's what it is, right? You have to figure that stuff out. So if there's anything that I could really put home for us, right? Resilience is not perfection. That is not the goal, right? Come in here, figure out what works for you, and thrive, and be okay for the plan to change. So really to end this, right, I just wanted you guys to know that I think that what we're doing here and what everybody in here is attached to is beautiful, right? I hope that you're asking the hard questions, and you're putting people like me and my peers and anybody else to give you perspective, because that's all it is. You got to walk in your own journey, and you got to find your own way. So somebody that I love and trust very much just told me, and this is what I'll leave you with, right? Be brief, be brilliant, and then be gone. Thank y'all.